For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the E.T. Stand Podcast. Welcome to the E.T. Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast that's bringing the man off the bench. Here he is. Starting this week is the legendary Scott Latino for the first time ever on an episode of the ET Stand. Was that a mistake, or did I choose to do that on purpose? You will never, ever know. Hit the like and subscribe button to get notified of all of our videos on the ET Stand on either YouTube or Facebook. For those listening on Spotify as well, we say hello to you. As the Cronulla Sharks, they remain undefeated in 2024 and march on to play the hapless West Tigers in round 3 on Saturday night. Get involved in the comments on the show, either in the live show or later, so that you can keep us honest and have your say. We don't claim to know everything, and we frequently need your help on answers, don't we, Mark Noakes? On this episode, we will preview the upcoming clash versus the Tigers. For those as an in-joke, we didn't know who Mark Noakes was the other night, for those that are on the debrief. On this episode, we're going to preview the upcoming clash with the West Tigers. We're going to try and work out if Cam McInnes is the toughest Shark ever and where he rates alongside tough Sharks from our history. Franco is going to put forward some options for who he thinks should be the new number 1 ticket holder for the Cronulla Sharks. And plus, we'll have our regulars with Lats and his socials and Kelly taking us around the grounds. Welcome to the show, fellas. I'll start with you, Williams. We'll just give you a 2-sentence closer on the week that was after your efforts on the hard quiz. Just give us a final word on the experience and for anyone who missed it. Well, he's on mute, so this is going particularly well.
You got me now. Have you got me now? Oh, there we go. And that was my 2 sentences. Thanks, guys.
You sounded better before.
Yeah, no, 2 sentences. Couldn't have gone any more Cronulla-esque if I tried, so glad you enjoyed that. It made it way better me not winning and the manner in which I capitulated, and also too, as an experience, as something to show the grandkids, I'm very happy with how I came across. No comments on Doja Cat.
And we can confirm that this week's match is not at Shark.
Correct.
All right, let's get into the first segment on the show. We'll cross over to our man, Chris Kelly. Is there anything that we missed on the debrief last Friday night? So to anyone who regulars on the ET Stand podcast, you might know that we do a show straight after full time, or sometimes on Friday nights we'll do it at the end of the second match. So on the debrief, we kind of debrief immediately what we saw. Sometimes we miss stuff. So throwing to you, Mr. Kelly, what do we miss? What were your thoughts on the win over the Bulldogs?
Yeah, well, I don't mean to be the one that told you so, but I told you so. Like, this is going to be a great season. Like, again, another victory. It was going to be just a walk in the park. No, in all seriousness, the first half was pretty tough. Obviously, shout out to the referee assisting us in denying the first try to the Bulldogs. Thought his defensive work was pretty good. I was obviously screaming at the debrief Mark Noakes as loud as I could, and it still wasn't getting through to the TV. So we love Mark Noakes, and I like to watch his banging of the esky for many years. So I'm glad Latz thought it might have been Trent Elkin, but if he recalls, he kind of went out in the Stephen Dank era and went to Parramatta, so he's not really around anymore. Other than that,
I just had a brain freeze on Mark Noakes, and I apologise to Mark Noakes.
You know, look, it was a live show. It's things like this is going to happen. You got to ask Williams like hard quiz. You know, you lose the people who support Doja Cat, like who calls out Shark Bart. You can see he was beaten to the punch. Williams, but yeah, it was so quick, Williams. It was just literally like, I was like, oh no, this girl's pressed the buzzer. He thought no one else was going to know this answer, and she just jumped all over him. So
I maintain, if you look at the replay, I buzzed in first to get a conspiracy theory there. But Baldo was like, why don't you just buzz in straight away? Those that have watched Hard Quiz will know that regularly the answer is not the obvious one. And if you buzz in early, Tom will go, I'll finish the question. And you leave the door wide open for a 15-point turnaround with someone stealing it. But yeah, I was too slow there.
Yeah. Oh well.
Anyway, back to the
like I said,
Bulldogs.
back to the
Anything
Bulldogs
else on that match, Chris? Any standouts?
I think it was Teague Wilton had a great game. Talakai again proving that he is the centre of the year and there's no spot for Iro at the moment. Ronnie up to his normal tricks of half an ankle injury and scoring a couple of good tries. And the result is what we thought it was going to be. The Bulldogs just haven't got the gas to go with us. And I think it's going to follow into next week into the Tigers at Leichhardt.
I think I agree with you, Chris Kelly, that the silkiness of the Sharks just won out over the top of them at the end, which leaves the Cronulla Sharks 2 wins from 2 to start the season. Now, if only there was someone we could ask who might know the answer to when was the last time the Sharks won the first 2 matches to open a season. Matthew, would you happen to know the answer to that?
I'll defer to Elle from last week's Hard because episode, and she'll be able to chat about that one. But no, 2008 it was. Lats and I were talking about 2008. If you caught this week, or please do catch this week's Classic Cronulla Chronicles episode where we covered the round 25 match involving the Tigers and the Sharks at Leichhardt Oval that year. But we opened the season with back-to-back wins over the previous year's grand finalists. First up, round 1 at Brookvale Oval, a 16-10 win with a first try by Bryson Goodwin and a famous try from BBBB Brett Carney off a great Greg Bird offload to wheel around under the post and score to put us, I think, 8 points up. Manly hit back, didn't kick the goal. We finished 16-10. Following week, I think it was you, David, that went down to Melbourne. It was an early Shark onslaught, 3 early tries, but Cavell couldn't kick any of the goals. Eventually, we saw a late Brett Kamali field goal after a couple of send-offs. See the Sharks become victors 17-16. And then the following week, we travelled to the Gold Coast to be the second match ever at the new Robina Stadium, Skilled Stadium, whatever you want to call it. Not sure what it's called these days. An early Ben Pomeroy try had us ahead there, and then we didn't go on with it. So, good night.
That one too. That hurt.
Yeah, so that wasn't 3 in a row. But anyway.
The next morning.
When was the last time we went 3 in a row?
Oh, 3 in a row. Well, I opened that to you guys beforehand. When do you think it was?
Well, I had a shot at it and got it wrong. So, Lats, I'm going to let you answer.
Mate, I had a shot at it and got it wrong as well, but I'll go with 2000.
I'm going to say it definitely wasn't 2000. Chris?
I'd only have to throw in there the Red Hot 99 team, but I doubt it.
I'm going to say it's not 1999 either, and I'm going to say
99. We opened the season with a whole stack, but it was a year later than
I reckon it's 2002.
Nailed it. 2002 opened the season. Do you know who we opened the season against with a win?
Was Chris Anderson's first game? I have a feeling against it was Bulldogs.
No, if I say this line by Ray Warren for the winning try, I might give it away. Matthew Reek wreaks havoc. Went flying down the left wing at the Sydney Football Stadium to win 24-18. Maybe not. Matthew Johns scored our first try that season. So it was against the Dragons. It was against the Dragons, actually. Dragons at the Sydney Football Stadium, bizarrely, when the Dragons had that as their home ground because Cogger was terrible. And then we backed up with a win over the Storm the following week, 30 points to 24. And then the following week against the Panthers, who were deemed wooden spooners by all and sundry, were losing that game for most of it. And then a late flurry of tries. We won 18-10 on a wet Saturday night at Shark Park. And then I think
start off the Chris Anderson era.
Following week. It was 3-0 with Chris Anderson. It was good. None of them were convincing wins, but especially the Storm game, they racked up some big scores and then gave up the impetus. They didn't quite give up the lead like the following year, but yeah, sign of things to come.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that was anything we missed against the Bulldogs. We are going to head into Lats's social media roundup as our second segment on the show. Hit slideshow there, and I'm going to hit present. We go share screen. Let's just see how quickly I can get this transfer happening. There we go. Bang. Oh, look at that. What a transition. As we head over to the week in social media with Lats, man of the people, anything that might have happened to the Sharks since our last match on social media that you might have missed. Take it away, Scotty.
Alrighty, mate. There's been a lot of love around this week for none other than Teague Wilton after that blockbusting performance against the Doggies. Fans actually wanting to know why he's only sitting in the I guess level of Boldo's tiers. Surely he jumps up a few levels after those last couple of performances, Boldo.
Well, he's certainly making a case, and the committee that selects the tiers will take that under advisement. With that sort of recommendation, Lats, there might even be a spot for you on the committee one day.
Oh, look out.
Getting the tears.
They're in
I
trouble.
thought Teague Wilton did have a particularly good game, actually. So it's good to see him kicking on. And we're certainly going to need him with Britton Nakora out for 2 weeks.
Definitely. Alrighty. Opposition socials. Doggy supporters feeling quite upset and ripped off by the referees last week. Clowns. Personally, I thought the game was reffed quite well. A little stop and start overall, but okay. Phil Gould on the Sunday Footy Show thought the Viliami kick-out try should have been awarded. Was just having a Ricky Stewart moment and trying to get some future call sway his way, who knows? But he did say he thought Trindle purposely played into the ref. Players do it every game to decoy runners. I say good on Braden for exploiting that loophole if he did. And look, Melbourne's built a dynasty on exploiting loopholes with the wrestle and whatnot there. So I'm good with it. I thought it was the right call, and there we go.
I thought it was a bit tough. They were just a bit unlucky. Sometimes the football gods, Lats, they just don't shine down on different kind of people. And g'day to Harley. I do like Harley's comments. Go Mighty Sharkies. And Harley, we are still waiting for you to tell us where you got that awesome shark drawing from, because that drawing is amazing.
It's an avatar, mate. Remember?
Oh,
it's not an emoji. It's not a drawing. It's an avatar.
Yeah, show him, mate. All right, cool. I might still do it for my dinosaur. All right, on to the next.
All righty. Nico's leading the Dally M points leaderboard with 12 points after his solid performance on Friday night. Fans this week feeling he was a bit more deserved of the receiving of the 6 points than he was in the Warriors match. But
how angry was everyone last week, Lats, with our post about Nico?
It was very torn, wasn't it? It was 50-50 there. We copped a bit of heat just for even raising the question in the socials. But I think I'm good with Nico being right up there. He's getting very consistent, becoming that very consistent half. His game management's improving, and as predicted in my 2024 prediction, he will be Dally M medalist for the second time at season's end.
Well, at the moment, he's undefeated in terms of Dally M points, isn't he? I tell you what, he's looking pretty good for the Dally M, if those are the way the scores are going to go. So,
100%.
Can't complain. Trom Travojevic, if he stays uninjured, he is pretty good. And my prediction at the start was Manly are going to be good, which is proving to be correct.
Well, those
look at that,
players
Luke
bring
Brooks,
down his
7
stick,
points
are
as well.
very
They're injury prone. This is true. On to the next.
Alrighty, there's been mixed feelings amongst the fan group regarding Britton Nikora's 2-game suspension. I'm at peace with it. I thought he was going to get 4 minimum, to be honest. We've got a couple of very winnable games coming up. I think he and the club made the correct decision in entering the early guilty plea and accepting the 2-week ban. I'm pretty good with it. What about you guys?
Chris?
I think he was quite lucky. If you see that angle and a couple of replays, he was probably lucky to stay on the field. I think most people were more confused about Viliami not seeing a HIA for that straight away, if not later. He did one of those, my shoulder's sore with 5 minutes left in the first half, which then your HIA assessment carries over the halftime period. He was back out for the second half. So I'll take the 2 weeks as well. I think, forceful contact to the head, he was quite lucky.
Yep. I think it was good too of Viliami. He didn't lay down. I think that went in Britain's favour. It sort of, everyone missed it initially, and it was brought up to the referee, I think the next play, but or the next set actually. But I'm pretty good with the 2 weeks. I thought it was the right decision.
It's annoying though. But look,
it is.
Suspensions and those sort of things happen, don't they? All right, next.
Dylan Watch, a lifelong Sharks tragic and idol hopeful Dylan Wright has secured a place in the Australian Idol Grand Finale. Great to see him down at the game last Friday night celebrating Finucane's 250th. I think he's a massive chance of taking this out. Congratulations, Dylan. The whole Shire's behind you, mate. I noticed the Sharks are pushing him in the socials too, so I think
he even did an episode of our sister good friends over at Sharkcast. He did an episode with them post game as well. So
very good.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the whole Sharkies network, Dylan. So yeah, fingers crossed. That would be quite good actually. Maybe he will feature on Franco's list of who should be the next number 1 Sharks fan.
Ooh.
We shall see.
Ooh. Keep an eye out. Mate, lastly, imagine just going about your daily work as a mural artist in the Shire, recreating the torn down grand final mural, Shark Park, when the absolute goat himself, who this podcast is named after, happens to be driving past, pulls a car over, and pulls you in for a selfie. what an absolute legend ET is. He uploaded the selfies to his Escape with ET page, which I highly recommend everyone heads over and gives a follow to and see what ET's been up to in the wonderful world of fishing. And that rounds out the socials.
He's a handsome human being, Andrew Whitting.
He still is. He still is.
Hasn't aged a day.
I'm glad to see
gonna
the
be on-
mural's not made out of bricks, though. Like it's actually.
Too soon.
Well, there's that, and then what's also going to go over there on the left? What's that going to be?
I reckon they'll extend it. There'll be something else up there.
It might be
That's-
the gal holding up the trophy or something. Who knows?
Monty Porter. It'll be
Maybe it is. Maybe
Oh.
it is.
I've actually seen a few posts from our resident NRL photographer, Shire resident, asking for where's the statue next? Where's the statue going to go in front of that? So I think that's something we should start maybe looking into.
Well, where the statue or what those two goes, and well, I think it goes
maybe
up-
that or Gallon or maybe a couple of statues.
Alf Liga? Someone.
Gallon for feeder. From what I've heard, other statue talk, like talking about, I think it was Jonathan Thurston's statue up in North Queensland, is it's very hard to find statue artists, and you don't want to get the wrong one. I mean, the Ray Warren one copped a fair bit of stick in Junee because it looked nothing like him. But
Yeah.
Cristiano
I've seen the
Ronaldo is another one.
Michael Wayman down in I think it's Maruya.
oh, really?
It doesn't look like it. Yeah.
I need a lot of granite for that one.
I think I got another comment from Harley here saying that loves Paul Gallen and loves ET as the best players for the Sharks. It is tough to argue that. One day we will do a who are the best Sharks players ever. I might do them as a tiers, and I'll get absolutely crucified for getting
You
that.
definitely need
Absolutely.
to have Colin Best as the pitcher for that one.
Well,
Works
who
on
is the
so
best-
many levels. So many
works on
levels.
so many levels.
He is the
However,
best.
when Adam Ritson is towards the top of the Boldos tiers of greatest Sharks ever, you guys are going to get pretty grumpy. But we digress.
I'm pretty good.
Oh,
I like
He was
I'm
very
happy
good
with
at it. All right. Well, look, we're going to get into the Tigers match preview and then look straight off the bench for the start this week. But then Lats is going to take a rest. So, Lats, we'll get you a quick prediction on the
Mate.
Tigers match before we let you go and we bring Franco in as we get into the.
Yep, I think the Tigers are going to go down 44-12 to the Sharks. I think Will Kennedy bags a hat trick. Nico again gets the 6 points. Teague Wilton first try scorer, and Tommy gets off the nudie run.
All right. Fair enough. That is. Tommy gets off the nudie run. All right. Cool.
Off the nudie run.
All right. Well,
Early
that's a saying
days.
it is an absolute shellacking to the Sharks. Well, hopefully, that's not too much bulletin board material. All right. Well, we'll kick you out, Lats. Thanks for that contribution. And thank you for the socials. That was good fun. I'll say thanks, Lats. And off the bench, here he is, Franco, in for the team lists. All right. So let's get into the team list. And we'll just go hit over there as we get into our little preview. And we go, oh, we move it over here. Look at that. All right. Sharks play the West Tigers on Saturday night at Leichhardt Oval. And Chris is going to take us through the starting lineups.
Well, for us, the starting lineups, the only change obviously is what we just touched on. Britt Nakora facing a suspension. So Jack Williams, Matthews' relation slides into the number 11 jersey. We just see a switch to Billy Burns coming off the bench, and that's about it. It's pretty easy for Fitzy these days to name it, and pretty easy for me to copy and paste. So that's our team, pretty much unchanged from 2-0. So nothing too much to worry about. Whereas on the Tigers side, they've made a few changes already. Go Williams.
No Tapua. He was a gun on the
No
weekend.
Tapua, no.
Yeah.
He's starting prop at Newtown this week. So the
Good
Newtown's
for
had a
match
few
fitness.
changes there as well. But they've got a good lineup. If we go to the
What can you
Tigers,
tell
they
us
obviously
about,
started.
I was going to say,
go.
Chris, what can you tell us about Billy Burns, Franco?
Oh, he's wouldn't say a journeyman, but he's been through a couple of clubs. Started out as a Penrith junior, went through to St George, and has ended up here at the Sharks. He's had about 40-odd matches. In the previous 2 games at New South Wales Cup of the Newtown Jets, I think he scored a try in each game. I didn't think he was too bad in the trials. I thought he was doing all right. Certainly a fringy there to fill the gaps in times like these. And I don't think he's going to let us down. I think he's going to do a good job.
All right, fair enough. That's Billy Burns, and that's the Sharks lineup. And then looking at the West Tigers.
Yeah, the West Tigers here, obviously they started with a little 2-point from the bye in round 1, and round 2 went down to Canberra, and it didn't start too well for them. So Benji swung the axe early during the game, a bit of Flanagan, Chad Townsend style, and he sacked Jaden Sullivan, or hooked Jaden Sullivan mid-game.
He did, didn't
Brought
he?
an experience. Yeah, the Aiden Caesar came on. So the granite himself, Justin Olam's coming into the centres this week also. That Lats loves trying to get for an anytime try scorer, but always lets him down. The young fellow at number 6, Lachlan Galvin, was quite good and quite impressive at number 6 for a debut. So I quite liked him. Like I said, Aiden Caesar starting this week. Api Coruscant at captain. Bateman comes back into the team. And Boldo's non-Finau is playing off the bench at number 17.
Fainu. I watched that Tigers match. I thought Lachlan Galvin did try very hard, but he just didn't seem quick enough for mine, and I'm not sure. I'm not shaking in my boots at Lachlan Galvin. I remember playing a lot of matches against Aiden Caesar. Probably more scared of him than Jaden Sullivan, who got caught out on a horrendous defensive error off a tap kick down the left-hand side. John Bateman, he just looks angry. But look, this whole team goes through Api Coruscant for mine. So if we can shut him down, then I think
everyone bags the Tigers every week. But if you have a look at that team compared to most teams, like they're very inexperienced. There's all new players. It's obviously a rookie coach in Benji learning his trade. They haven't really got the cattle that most clubs do. Besides, like Baldo said, Api Coruscant coming through. Everything's going to come through him. I think it's going to be a little bit comfortable. But then again, I thought last week it would be more comfortable than it was going to be to the last 30 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. We are traveling to Leichhardt. We do like playing there. It's quite a nice ground. I'm hoping this week, instead of our defensive structures, we sort of just worry about what's going on out in front of us and letting the ball flow and getting a couple of hat-tricks out wide.
Tigers will be up for it, though. I was at the corresponding game last year at Parramatta Stadium, and they were, I don't know, it was a little mid-season resurgence they had this week as their first home game. A lot of scrutiny around them. They will be similar to the Bulldogs. They will be seeing this as a winnable match. It's not like they're playing Penrith or Melbourne or something like that. So Jareen Buller, very solid at the back. He caused us a lot of trouble last time we played them, and they had a try disallowed, I think rightly so, but I think it was one of those catching a bomb knock on in the process, but Buller had that taken off him. I think they would have put it either Tigers level or in front. I think it would have been about 18 or 18-16 at that point of the game early in the second half. So it's definitely something we need to be up for. Still, Bateman and Papali's second rows they can cause some issue out wide, especially Jack Williams. I don't know when he's last played second row, so he's definitely not starting anyway. He's just not. I like Jack. I think he's been really good for us, but I think he's more of a middle rather than an edge. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes.
Is Charlie Staines the guy that debuted
I was about to bring that up
on the sideline?
4 tries at Cogra.
One of those tries.
Yeah,
And then he got
I was going to say he has got a great try scoring record against us, but
Yeah.
but that was
Got
with the
done for
Penrith team. So
Yeah, it's a lot
I
of class
scored 4
inside him.
tries against most teams on the end of that Penrith team.
Pretty sure, didn't he breach his COVID protocol as well, jumping into
He
the
did.
crowd afterwards? I mean, who
he
wouldn't
went out.
on debut scoring 4 tries? How good, but in front of 12 people at Cogra, yeah, it's not the bright lights of.
Fair enough. Let's
Shark
just go
Park.
back and look at this Sharks team here. A lot of conjecture about who plays in that number 11 jersey and whether Talakai goes there, or even there were suggestions that Ramian could even go there to bring in Kyle Lear. I think Jack Williams is the right choice. That's probably what I would have done, to be honest. So, look, strong looking Sharks team. Almost, other than Nicker, almost full strength, really. Chris, why don't you give us your prediction?
yeah, like I said, I think I'm kind of with Williams here. I like Latter's prediction for a big score line. I'm just hoping this week we start a bit quicker, because given our first 2 starts, we haven't started that kind of Sharks electric where we have in the second half. I'd like to see us go out early and score a bit more points and sort of relax into the game. Whereas, on the weekend it was 6 apiece. It was a bit tense, bit of back and forth. Same as the Warriors were on the back foot at 12-0 or 0-12. So I'd like to see us go out and set the world on fire early. So, but I'm going to go 32-12. I think the Tigers again are improving, but they just haven't got any experience. Again, on that Williams selection, I'd probably would have slotted Finucane or maybe throw in Billy Burns. But then Williams is, he's, like you said, he's not going to do a bad job out there.
Yeah, I
It's
reckon.
2 picks. 2 picks for the Sharks. Franco.
I reckon on the Williams promotion, we'll call it. I think that's just desserts. Probably would have been, from an outsider looking in, a straight swap Billy Burns into the 11 jersey. But you know what? Jack Williams tries hard. He's a great clubman, deserves a starting spot, and I think that's why he gets the 11 jersey. I'm a bit worried about Buller. He always seems to, and those types of players, those nippy backline players, he seems to give us a bit of grief. Certainly causes me a bit of heart palpitations every time he's got the ball. I think they're in for a couple of points, but I don't think it's going to be enough to trouble us. It's probably going to be if Caesar's pulling the strings well enough, I think they're going to get maybe 16 points and we'll be 20 plus.
All right, 3 tips for the Sharks. Williams, quick history on the Tigers matches, and then give us your pick.
Quick history. So Tigers, I'm not covering Balmain or Western Suburbs, but the West Tigers, as mentioned in our other podcast with Lats last night, dominated us early on when they were formed in 2000 up until 2008. We'd only won 4 times. They'd won 9 with 1 draw heading into that match. They owned us. They were, for a long period of time, we had a very long 5-year gap between winning against them, and I think it was at the time one of the longest losing streaks between clubs in the competition. Since then, 36 matches total, 17 to us, 18 to them, 1 draw. 1 draw in 2001, which was a famous 16-all draw where I think it was John Simon playing for the Tigers, kicked 0 from 4, so which kept us in that one. They've been good against us over the years. We've only lost them once since 2014, and that was in the first match after the COVID shutdown in 2020 at CommBank Stadium in front of a whole stack of cardboard cutouts, where we're all still getting used to the 6 again rule and the like. That one finished 28-16 to the Tigers. Since then, we've beaten them, won the last 4 matches and had a good winning run in around there. Some big scores too. Last outing was 36-12 at Parramatta Stadium, but earlier it was one of our only times we've met the 50-point margin or 50-point barrier. We beat them 50 points to 20 in Rockhampton, of all places, in late 2021, where I think it was Ronaldo famously broke the line and passed it off to what's his name for the Warriors now. Forgotten him, 5'8", Metcalf. Metcalf's first NRL try was kind of an under-sixes style pass it to that guy, let him score under the post, which Ronaldo got mixed reviews from. I liked it. I know that the commentary I was listening to at the time on Triple M were absolutely smash him for it, saying this is not under eights. Yeah, don't be doing that.
And you're predicting Sharks win, Williams?
I'm predicting Sharks win. I think it'll be 26-12. I don't think we'll blow them away. I think they'll hold their own for a bit and then we'll pull away. But I'm like Kelly said, I'd like to see us start faster and play from in front.
All right. Well, if anyone else has any predictions and you want to get them in the comments, please do so. We're just going to show the current score in the ET Stand comp, or the ET Stand tipping comp. We only pick the Sharks matches. So currently Bolo, Lats and Kelly are on 2 and Franco and Williams are on 1. I, too, am going to pick the Sharks this week. I believe we will outscore the Tigers in a ratio of 3 tries to every 2 tries they score, and we will just slowly kick away, with the 3rd try not being as relevant this week because we will just score lots of points and outscore the Tigers. And I think the class of our back line will be too good, and the forwards will run over the top of them as their second-string forwards will not be able to keep up with ours. Williams, you want to respond to my tip, don't you?
How can the 3rd try not be relevant?
Well, the 3rd try is not as relevant when the score's 54 points to 30.
Yeah, it's the 7th try policy.
It doesn't matter as much. But when the score's 12 points to 6, it's certainly going to matter. So I don't think the penalty goals are going to matter as much. I expect the Sharks to handsomely deal with the Tigers and deal with them pretty well. All right, here we go.
Oh,
can we have that in writing?
It's consider it done, Lats. It's it is
the 3rd try
stone.
principle won't as much. But just so we're clear, the 3rd try principle is undefeated for the Sharks this season. Okay, let's move on to the next segment in our show. So we have been blessed with the presence of cult hero Cameron McInnes. And we thought it would be fitting for us to test out and see, well, where does Cameron McInnes sit alongside some of the toughest Sharks of all time. And so the brief to our dear friend and resident historian on the ET stand, Mr. Williams, was, who is the toughest Sharks player ever? A little history lesson with you, Matthew Williams. Take it away.
Thanks, David. I'll caveat this by saying that I was a child of the late 80s, so a lot of these players that I've researched and seen and found, I never saw live, and I think you guys will fall in the same boat, especially those players in the 70s. You got to split toughness. Is it dishing it out or is it copying it? Is it bravery or is it toughness or hardness? I think it's both. So we'll open with the hard heads. We've got some honourable mentions too. Most of them are coming from that era, being the 70s and gusting 80s for a few of those players. I'll let you roll the slide, please, David, as we open with the hardest players in regards to those that can dish it out. And number 5, we have legendary UK prop hailing from St Helens, who played for the Sharks from 71 to 73, including the dirtiest or most violent grand final of all time, the 1973 loss to Manly, unfortunately. Cliff Watson, absolute legend of the game. He passed away in May 2018. So happy he got to see 2016. Stalwart of the club. Did hang around the area for the rest of his days. Did enormous work prior to that with St Helens and Great Britain from prop. Not the tallest guy, but just by all accounts, a real hard-nosed guy in an era where there wasn't an interchange. It was once you're off, you were substituted, and that was it. And played through so many injuries and the like. So that's Cliff Watson there. I will say too that there's not any particular order for this one, and I'm sure you guys will be able to phone it in as well and say, hey, who was harder out of these ones? The next one is Paul Kahn with number.
I was going to say, Matty, I would have thought Cliff Watson would have been the toughest Shark ever, actually.
Well, I think not to throw you on the bus here, David, but I think I did say in order of appearance, not breaking as such. But we'll see with your number 1 anyway. There's some fresher memories, I suppose, for this player that makes number 1 if you're going to go that way. But Paul Kahn was a prop who was not the largest guy, but definitely incredibly tough. Played from 75 to 81. Played in both grand finals in 78. Came down from Queensland. Played a number of matches for Queensland in State of Origin between 81 and 83 after he moved back north. He was originally recommended to the club by a Thomas Bishop, who was coaching Brisbane Norths at the time, back in the days of the very strong Brisbane comp. Again, one of those players that played above his weight, but also dished it out in a very violent era. Same as Cliff. No substitutions, no interchange, only substitutions. Had to play through injury. That was standard. They all had jobs, and you just watch those games back. And yes, it was a different time, but my golly, they were tough. So. Moving on to the next one, Steve Neen, again, who was a more of a second rower, who also played above his weight. He had a wicked beard for most of his career. That's a smaller one, but he did have a big kind of bushranger beard during that period. Played in the 73 grand final. Again, quoted pound for pound, the toughest Sharks player of all time by some judges. There's a good write-up in the Colour Me Black, White and Blue book as well, that was released back in the early 2000s, talking about the injuries these guys played through and they'd play almost every match of the year, despite the fact that they were carrying, dislocated shoulder here, dislocated or insert injury here. They just kept on plying through, and he was another one of those players. The next one is the most capped Kiwi player of all time in Cronulla history, with 224 matches between 77 and 89. That is Dane Sorensen. He's number 7 on the all-time list of Sharks players. He did disappear for one short period in the early 80s to the Roosters when the Sharks essentially had no money, but playing at prop through that era, playing, as we've noted a little while ago, playing the 78 both grand finals, and then again reappearing in the success of 88 and 89 as a real old senior level-headed player that just could just continually turn up as well. So Dane Sorensen, I put him as our greatest Kiwi of all time and also one of our hardest players of all time. But number 1, this one I'll throw to you guys to chat about. Good old Leslie Davidson, who was just a fixture of the Sharks club, having come across from Souths in the early 90s, right the way through to the end of 98. just continually turned up. And I haven't seen it, but I had heard from many people who were there a particular game at Shark Park in the early 90s involving Jason Stevens while he's still playing for the Darcy
Yep.
Dragons, where Les Davidson may have thrown a right hook and a left hook and left two Dragons players, including Jason Stevens, motionless on the ground. He was. I'll throw to you guys because you guys saw a lot more of him. I remember him distinctly from about 95 onwards for my, I suppose, growing up. Following them, but you guys
Well,
are
he's
a bit,
just a South
bit more
legend.
seen to me.
He was
Yeah.
a South legend before he even got to us and was a
Yeah,
kangaroo tourist. And I remember just hearing the stories of, what do they call him, Chris Bundy. He's just an absolute beast and just gave us a whole bunch of toughness. I just think he was underrated in those Sharks years by the time he turned it on. He was a terrific player and was a regular trainer down at the Cronulla gym down at Gunnamatta Park as well.
there you go.
Chris,
Not that
anything
I
on,
mean, he's
anything
big,
on Les?
big guy.
If you throw, say, like a loose Wera Hargraves with a, I don't know, like an Adrian Morley and then a Martin Lang running style, that was Les Davidson. If you think about those three guys and mix them up and spit them out, that was the guy running at you and going to tackle you, and it was just, you didn't want any part of it.
Just an awkward body shape, I remember, and he ran at 1,000,000 miles an hour and just limbs going and could throw a punch too back when that was a
Judiciary
part of the game.
didn't count to him, so it was
It wasn't
scary
quite
to watch.
Mario Fenech, but he did go to the judiciary a lot. All right, so that's the hardest Sharks players ever. We'll
I'll
save
give
the
some-
rest of the panel's mentions. We'll get into, or do you want to do your
I'll give
honourable
just
mentions on the hardest
quick
Sharks?
honourable mentions. Martin Lang will get a run shortly too with the braveness, but Martin Lang was hard too. Chris Beattie came in 2000. We're like, who is this guy? How tough is he? He was a regular, another player. We're talking about it. I suppose what prompted, if you don't mind me saying, Boldo, was right in front of us seeing Cam McInnes come off with blood pouring from his face, from his head, sits down. Someone handed him a towel. He didn't even take it. He didn't motion for the trainer or any of the staff to come and help him. He was, I suppose, just primed, and I suppose probably a bit annoyed that he was off the field. But there's no medical attention required. He just played through, don't care. But Chris Beattie always reminded me of that. I think every shot of him on the sideline was him. He's just beetroot head covered in blood. And then obviously our greatest Shark of all time, Paul Gallen. Just the sheer longevity, the toughness, the injuries he played through, the fact that he didn't have, I think, was it one of the ligaments in his leg, I think a PCL. There was that famous line early in 2016 when he did I think his medial. He said, I think I've done my PCL, and the trainer said, you don't even have one. We took it out in that leg. So that's I suppose a function of the toughness required to play for that long period. And yes, Cam Smith played in a dinner suit and played for over 400 games, but the fact that Gallen played 348 matches, majority in the front row, a few exceptions where he played 5'8" back in the day, but that's just sheer hardness. We'll roll forward to the bravery. And here's one that will elicit a great response from you guys. Gavin Miller, probably the bravest Sharks player of all time. I didn't see him personally, given my age, but having seen a lot of replays, he just copped it every time he put someone through a hole. He was copping that late
He got
hit.
belted every single time. And
Belted
so he would
every
run to the
time,
line,
yeah.
and he knew that he was going to get belted. And then, they're constantly smashing up his nose and all this sort of stuff. And he just kept going.
Yeah.
That's such a
And
legend, that guy.
Played
He
through all
is
of that.
the reason a lot of Sharks fans are Sharks fans, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know too that he had some stints over in the UK as well, and he, like ET, garnered a lot of UK fans to get interested in the club and Australian rugby league as well through his exploits. So we'll roll forward to a bit of a different one. Leaping Luke Cavell, early 2011, in the wet at Shark Park. Sharks had opened the season. I think they were 0-4. Easter weekend playing against Parramatta. Tim Smith's first game. Midway through the first half, Luke Cavell does his ACL, continues to play, thinking it's his final match ever. He was leaving the club, basically leaving or retiring from the NRL at the end of that season. He was getting on, played the entire match. The Sharks win 11-0 with a couple of Blake Ferguson tries. I don't think Cavell ended up kicking due to the injury that he had, but was essentially playing on one leg. Goes away, has Lars surgery when that was still a thing, comes back about 12 weeks later and finishes the year with a swan song, plays a few games, including his final match at Shark Park, a win over the Titans, which I think was Matt Rogers' last match for the Titans anyway, against the club as well, against the Sharks. And the Sharks were a terrible season, but got a solid win against the Titans, who were in the hunt for the finals. Luke Cavell taking a famous intercept there where, as I was joking to Lats last night, I think he's still running. He ran about 60 metres, not a noted speedster for a winger, ducking and weaving and fending Scott Prince down the left and scored in the northwest corner at Shark Park. And just, yeah, the sheer willpower to play on one leg, knowing that was his final match in very difficult conditions, or we thought it was his final match. That's sheer guts right there. So rolling on to the next one. Brett Camorley, he copped a lot of stick throughout his career, but in 2003 he had a bit of a rough year midway through the season against the Tigers. He copped a broken jaw, played the rest of that match with that, and then spent the next 6 weeks out letting that injury heal. Shortly after he returned against a fancy Broncos outfit, Sharks got a bit of an upset with a win in the wet there, and he copped a ruptured testicle. I think all of our eyes are still watering, and he played through that as well. So that is, and I think he only had a week or two off from it. So that is some balls
brave
right there. That is next level. That's probably potentially number one. We'll go to the next one. Martin Lang, every single run, every hit up, kamikaze. And kamikaze's like playing it lightly. He was just a madman, and I didn't even realize that he was a fullback growing up. And he himself admitted he didn't have the elusiveness or the ability or the skill required to convert even into reserve grade as that. So he had to remodel himself as a prop in that era. And imagine, so John Lang was the coach for a majority of his career, and seeing your son go through that's bravery in itself. And the last one, not the bravest, but definitely up there, given the fact that they couldn't needle it and he continued to play. Dale Finucane in late 2022, he copped a bit of heat over his performance there, including missing a tackle on Cam Murray in that semi-final that went through. But he was playing with a rib cartilage issue. That is like, a lot of people will play through broken ribs, but they can't play through rib cartilage issues because it's just so painful. And they couldn't needle it, and he was still turning up. He did it early on in the match at Brookvale Oval that year. I remember being there with Boldo. We heard the hit from where we were. It sounded nasty. He went off and came back on, and you could tell he wasn't right. I'm like, oh, that doesn't seem good. Had a few weeks off, tried to play through it. Several weeks later, was still copying it, and just, I suppose, the testament to the guy. He was the captain. He needed to get out there, and yeah, it was an injury that would have laid a lot of other people down. Honourable mentions, Cam McInnes, obviously. One interesting one, Warren Fisher. He played from what I saw online anyway, 1973 grand final. He came off at halftime, but he played the best half of the first half with a punctured lung, similar to, I suppose, Andrew Johns had a collapsed lung prior to the 97 grand final. Jack Bird, we all remember his twisted elbow. He couldn't even straighten his arm. He was basically playing one-handed throughout the majority of the 2016 grand final. He was only 21 years old. That's guts right there. And see him interviewed afterwards talking about it. And he said, I wouldn't have missed this for the world. But playing with one arm's guts, and to make the tackles that he did, the runs that he did, the carries he did, not sure whether he's dominant hand or not, but just shows that tenacity. But also too, big, just overarching, anyone who's laced on a boot to play rugby league as it is brave. Anyone that's made it to first grade and played for this great club is brave. Obviously, some are seemed or deemed braver than others, but anyone that's played it at the highest level, gosh, it takes some kahunas for that. That's for sure.
I think we just worked out that they're all tough, and actually, what Cam McInnes does, we should just expect that from rugby league players. And you haven't really told us whether Cam McInnes is tougher than any of those guys or not, William. So you completely ducked what the actual brief was. But all right. There's a whole bunch of tough guys, and some pretty crazy SHIT has happened to some of these guys.
I did say Cam McInnes, obvious. Cam McInnes, obviously.
That's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Cam McInnes is, I mean, you look at his game against Penrith last year where he made 79 tackles or something obscene. Then he didn't sleep. He was up with a young kid all night that wasn't sleeping, and then he took him to Taronga Zoo the next day. So he's just, he is next level, and like just seeing how he was the other day, that's him week in, week out.
All right, well, thank you, Williams. We'll kick you out. So thank you for that toughest Sharks player ever. We'll kick you out and bring Lats back for the Around the League roundup. Lats, you got any contribution to the toughest Sharks ever that we missed then in 30 seconds?
Yeah, mate. I thought Michael Weaponhead Porter from the 80s was unlucky not to get a mention. Also, Tawera Nikau.
Yeah,
thought he was pretty tough bloke. And I don't know how Williams could leave out this bloke. Scored a try in every game he played. 100% winning record with the Sharks and the great Tony Williams.
Right, fair enough. Oh, I don't know how we left Tony Williams out either. Okay, all right. Well, we'll head around. Look, there's a bit in this segment this week. Every week we ask our good friend Chris, who watches the most games and watches the most rugby league out of everyone that I know. So if you could take it away, Chris, and give us the all around the league roundup. Please don't talk about the Roosters and tell us about how Matt Moylan's doing in the UK Super League.
Oh, we're going to skip the Roosters, damn it. Yeah, around the league, obviously, most of the news is always bad news. So if you're not in the news, then you're doing pretty well. So as you can see, we're 2-0, and not talking about us. There's a few other teams that are 2-0. It's mostly centered around, obviously, Friday night's match with Latrell playing the Broncos. Sorry, the Rabbitohs playing the Broncos, but everyone wants to say Latrell's playing the Broncos because that's what he made it about. Obviously dropping 5 to 6 F-bombs in the interview and acknowledging that he was swearing and didn't really care. So that's obviously made the biggest news. He hasn't been sanctioned yet, but I believe he's meeting with Mr. Abdo either today or tomorrow. So we'll see if anything else comes out of that. His teammate, Lachlan Ilias, has faced the axe, so he's out as the number 7 from the Rabbits. So that's the next part of the news for them, for that team. So they're obviously getting kicked to the curb at the moment. And then in Newcastle, they've dropped Jackson Hastings has been dropped for young Jack Cogger, who's come from Penrith. So, yeah, so there's a couple of changes of teams that are 0-2. So I'm glad we're not in that position, being an 0 team, because it seems that the teams who are going through that things. The other, obviously, I thought, you know, we touched on it before about Trindle making connection with the referee. I'm glad he didn't put his hands out and touch the referee, because we've seen Jerome Hughes cop a 1 week suspension for the Melbourne Storm for the referee getting in the way, him pushing him out of the way to try and make a tackle, and he's now been suspended for a week. He was facing 2, but obviously took an early guilty plea. A bit 50-50 about that one. I think he knew the referee's in the way, but he's trying to make a tackle and sort of use a 2-hand push. So, Lats, is there anything out of that one, out of Jerome Hughes, what people think?
Nah, I feel he was a bit unlucky. I've noticed in the socials. What do you do? You can't disappear and magically get around the referee without making contact. If you're heading in that direction and you know trying to effect a tackle, what can you do? You can't stop motion. And yeah,
Trindle showed the way.
Trindle showed the way. Just run.
He did it well. Yeah.
And then wrapping up the league round, obviously Dragons fans are lining up to sell their grand final tickets straight away, because after a win against the Lackless Titans, they took on a red-hot Wayne Bennett Dolphins team, who was probably just as bad, and got absolutely shellacked and showed nothing. So
didn't they get
good finish to the round?
38-0 or something?
38 to donut. So yeah, I haven't seen the axe swing in their team yet. They got one of their guys had a similar tackle to Nakora and got a 10-minute sin bin and only faced 1 week. So there's no changes in that team, and we'll see what happens out of that.
Yeah, fair enough. And Matt Moylan played well in the UK Super League. You're just not going to talk about that. You're going to make me say it, aren't you?
Look, you can say it all. Lats has done a review of the game. Go on, Lats. Go on. You're firing up.
I turned it on. I turned it on with about 25 minutes to go the other day when I was reviewing some of the stuff for the Chronicles, and it was 2023,
vintage Matt Moylan,
early 2023, 2022, 2023 Cronulla-esque sweeping backline plays. He just does have that silkiness, doesn't he? And he has taken. This was his best performance since he's arrived there. He was just linking beautifully with Ricky Latelli. He got a meat pie or maybe 2. Moylan scored his first try for the Leopards, and he was just back to his silky best, and you can tell he's confident. And I think he kicked about 8 from 10 or something like that, ridiculous. And they just trounced him, and he was good on him. I'm glad to see him doing well.
I'll just put an asterisk on it though. It was in Super League, and last year's Man of Steel, aka Daily M player, was Bevan French. So I'll just put a little.
He's a pretty good player, Bevan French.
Super League.
He's coming back.
How many games? Yeah.
50. Something like that. Who knows? All right. That's anything
best
to add from you, Franco, on the league roundup? Anything we missed?
No, I just think it's interesting that both Souths and the other mob, Newcastle, making change so quickly after 2 losses. Obviously, it's something we're not used to from being Shark supporters, because the last few coaches we've had have pretty much stuck solid in tough times. So it's an interesting perspective. Did they pull the pin too soon, or is it something that as a Sharks fan we kind of want our coaches to maybe do something similar and shake it up a bit and see what else we've got to offer? I think given our current squad, we wouldn't be pulling the pin or making any changes, even if we started with 0-5. So
No, we wouldn't.
And given that it's a halfback position as well, like they're dropping their half. Like it's a big call. Like South have brought in their young gun, who's last year's New South Wales Cup Player of the Year. So Dean Hawkins.
So they
and then
didn't.
I don't think
They would have
Hastings
considered
is
Cody
a
Walker
7
instead,
anyway.
wouldn't they, Chris? They would have considered.
Well,
Cody
they
Walker.
would. There's people sort of whispering that they might do the switch yet, because it's a big match. Like that's their book of feuds against that Roosters Sydney's team. It's a massive game to bring a young fella. He has played first grade, but still a big call to play the Roosters. Dropping Ilias, and they got Jack Whiten coming back. They could have gone Walker and Whiten in the halves and brought in another back, but they're obviously going a different direction. Same with Newcastle. I know they brought up Jack Cogger to come and play half, and he played outside Cleary and replaced him while Cleary was out. But I'd never thought Hastings was really a 7. He played really well last year at lock, so we'll watch this space. But like Franco said, I'm glad we're not 0-2, because, I don't think we'd be dropping Nico or Trindle at this stage.
Do you guys think Jason Demetriou he's the coach under the most pressure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going into this season?
Yes.
He's next on the chopping block.
He's in trouble.
Well, I have said to a lot of
good.
people, if you look at South's draw, they could be 0-6 before we blink. They got a real tough draw.
So John Morris will coast the West Tigers eventually. Is another prediction that I'm going to make. I think will eventually come true. I think it's also interesting. My key takeaway from the weekend was how good Manly looked, and I think the Roosters are a pretty good team. So I reckon Manly might be there or thereabouts at the end of the season with Luke Brooks and an uninjured Trbojevic.
He looks like he's enjoying his footy, Brooks, doesn't he? He's just playing that carefree sort of running game. He's doing well.
It was interesting look at that Daily M table you brought up with Nico at the top, and then Brooks and Trbojevic are up there. But I haven't seen Turbo actually in the first 2 games really set the world on fire, and that's me being annoyed at his Supercoach score as well. So I don't. And so is Nico. Nico's killing us in Supercoach. So we'll see what happens.
It's a little bit of reputation there.
I think it is. Yeah.
Franco, can you introduce the next segment whilst I cough?
The next segment, without our fearless leader, as he goes down with some lurgy.
Bring Williams off the bench.
Bring him in.
So here we go. Here's Williams. Hey,
there you go. We don't need that guy anyway, guys. We don't need that guy.
No,
this is the real show.
Watch the viewers go up now.
Dimitri just got sacked.
Scott Morrison, our number 1 ticket holder, has resigned from politics, and in the same swipe of the brush has resigned from being the Sharks' number 1 ticket holder. I think that was probably a good thing from him. Maybe a little bit of writing was on the wall, and decided to step out before anything happens and he gets a bit of egg on his face. But that leaves us with no number 1 ticket holder. So number 1 tickets, what are they? Who are they? Do we need one? Let's have a bit of a deep dive. Now, it's a shame that Williams has come back, because I was going to ask the group a question, and I'm sure he knows the answers. But how many number 1 ticket holders do you think we've had?
5.
This is the exact number I was going to say. We'll go 4 then.
Yes, we've got 4. We've got 4. So it's obviously not something that someone needs to be in the seat at all times. Can you name the 4?
No.
No.
Peter Costello one?
Yeah.
Peter Costello was one. Yes. Peter Costello.
Kathy Freeman?
McPherson.
Yep.
McPherson.
The body. I definitely know the body.
Kathy Freeman.
The body was
Kathy Freeman. Yep.
And ScoMo.
And ScoMo. Correct. So
that's Wikipedia data. But
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind being ticket holder number 2 when the body was the first ticket holder. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly not something that the NRL has embraced too much. It certainly seems to be more of an AFL thing. The NRL do it sporadically, but as I mentioned, it's not really something that all clubs have number one ticket holders, and not all clubs have number one ticket holders at all times. Of that, obviously Scott Morrison now stepping down. How many prime ministers do you think have held the number one ticket holder across the NRL?
2.
I'm going to go 3. Yeah, I think 3.
I'm going to say Johnny Howard for the Dragons. I'm going to say Paul Keating for the Bulldogs. Obviously ScoMo for us. Malcolm Turnbull for the Roosters, probably not. They've got a lot of... the Roosters, they've got that many heavy fans anyway. They've got about 12 fans and they're all billionaires, so they probably don't want to offend any of those. What's his name? Abbott, he's a big Manly fan. Did he ever crack it over there? Yeah. Bob Catter doesn't
Williams
count.
is pretty good. Pretty good, mate.
Tony Abbott was.
8.
Oh, actually,
fine.
Kevin Rudd, was he Broncos maybe?
Yep. So we've got Bob Hawke at Canberra. I couldn't find Keating. John Howard at St George Illawarra.
So Keating he's a huge Bulldogs fan, but
yeah, I couldn't find him listed anywhere.
Scott Hansen loved when
Kevin
John
Rudd
Howard
at
was number one
Broncos,
ticket
Julia
holder.
Gillard at the Storm, Tony Abbott and Manly Seagulls, Malcolm Turnbull at the Roosters,
there you go.
Scotty Morrison at Cronulla Sharks, and now Anthony Albanese at the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Bunnies, obviously.
So that's
Now look what's happened to them.
yeah. Jury's still out. Obviously, a little bit of confirmation there on Keating if he was a Bulldogs number one ticket holder, but that's every prime minister since Howard has been a number one ticket holder for their local.
Julie Gillard, I'd say that's I think Molly Meldrum was probably on the outer, and they probably replaced him because he was always their number one ticket holder down there. And Gillard's a big Western Bulldogs fan in the AFL, so yeah.
Well, here we go, Williams. Here we go, buddy. What are the rules for a number one ticket holder?
No idea.
Basically, there are no rules. It's just more of a symbolic gesture. And as you've said, some clubs, despite the name, have had more than one number one ticket holder at the same time.
Let me guess.
Notably,
the Roosters? They fit them all under their number one ticket holder.
Yeah, all of them under their sombrero. Funnily enough, Melbourne Storm with Molly and Julia Gillard both were number one at the same time. So one of them was in the filing cabinet out the back, and the other one was up the front, I'm guessing.
Yes, the second
Some have sold their number one ticket seat to the highest bidder.
We won't go there.
So, yeah. So some people sell. Some clubs have sold, number one ticket holder status to the highest bidder in auctions and fundraisers. And I think that's obviously we might sort of nix those number one ticket holders from any records.
Has Mike Doring just bought his way into that position?
Has he?
5 mil.
Has he indeed?
I'll take my hat off to ScoMo. Sorry to butt in, but the fact that he copped a bit of heat, I don't know, the timing with my hard quiz shade that I threw at him, I don't know. But maybe the truth comes out. He goes, look, yeah, no. Good. I mean, on a side point, I think I was talking to Baldo about this the other night. I genuinely don't think he was a fan to begin with. I remember we were there in 2008 when I believe it was who was the incumbent member, Malcolm Kerr, I think, or Bruce Baird was there, and he was a legitimate fan, and you could tell he was happy to be amongst it. And good old ScoMo was like a deer in the headlights. But to his credit, after realising the political, I suppose,
football
benefit of being a fan of the local team and the development, that he was anti at the start and all that, he became a lot more involved, and I think he was a semi-genuine fan, gusting genuine fan in the end there, and I wish him all the best. But it's good that he made the decision and took it out of our hands rather than being that ex-Poly former PM sitting there going, taking the handouts, waving the scarf. Who waves the scarf anyway? But doing that, and then going, hey, is he still relevant? The fact that he took that decision and did that, I think, hats off to him.
Funny you should say that, Williams. Should there be any rules? Should there be a term that you hold the ticket for, and that is officially extended or ends? That way you avoid any breakups and any messy. Are they still a ticket holder? Because if you remember Peter Costello, he was kind of the number one ticket holder for quite some time and just sort of faded away and people stopped talking about it. I don't think it was ever actually sort of revoked and said, oh, he's not the guy anymore. It's just sort of, he was it for until
Kathy Freeman took it, and Peter didn't.
Yeah.
I suppose he didn't feel passionately enough to call up and go, "Hey, I'm still here too." He's another one. I suppose a Melbourneite that
He
needed a league team and jumped on the bandwagon.
needed a safe liberal seat, I think, and so hooked up his wagon.
Oh, another one, if you're talking number one ticket holders, Helen Clark was a massive Warriors fan. I think still is New Zealand PM. And I think that the game we were talking about, the 99 Classic against them, I remember the commentary, Graham Hughes like panning to the crowd and talking about Helen Clark being, even before she was PM, was so I suppose that's a international number one ticket holder, if you're going to talk about that. But
There you go. There you
the
go.
02
Take
grand
that.
final, she was giving everyone a kiss, and she gave a particularly big one to Stacey Jones. But
What is a number one ticket? What is it for? What does it do? It's hopefully the club gets something out of it, whether it's exposure or financial backing. In some scenarios, it works both ways, as we've just seen and demonstrated with all of the politicians jumping on board. What isn't it? It is not a reward for dedication to the club or recognition. That is what Immortals are for, club legends, life memberships, ignoring the fact that the Sharks sold life memberships for a period there while we were on Struggle Street. But
several times.
Kind of, yeah, correct. The number of times I've had someone drunkenly wave their life membership pass in front of me, brag about it. It's like, yeah, mate, anyone could have got one of those. Does kind of mean that we needed to create the club legends.
Franco pulled his out of his pocket. Here you go.
Yes,
I've got one too.
The confetti laying on the ground. Yeah, there's one there too, mate.
I raised your life membership, and here's my Leagues Club immortality status. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So it's, donating $5 million might not be enough, or is it? I don't know. Who are our options? Hey, who stands out? Who have we got? Looking at celebrities and well-known individuals. There's Corbin Harris, a former pro skater who is a host on ESPN and Fox Sports. Obviously, with the push to the US, that could be a good little thing for us. Mark Zuzak, an author of a pretty prominent book, The Book Thief, turned into a film, very well known. Brendan Jones, WSFM Breakfast, Jonesy and Amanda. He's already giving us pretty good publicity as far as I'm concerned. So I think he's kind of taken himself out of the running by doing the job that a number one ticket holder would do without having the title. Brendan Cowell, writer, actor, director of a bunch of stuff, ex-boyfriend of Rose Bryan. So he's there. Glenn McGrath. Bruce Byrne, thank you.
On Brendan Cowell, just on him, so he has been in I heard on SEN the other day when they interviewed him, but they were talking about so he's been on the biggest film series in recent years, Avatar. He's been in the biggest TV show of recent years, Game of Thrones. So he's up there, even though
good.
he was a
he's
big
good,
part.
and he's a true Sharks tragic. He absolutely bleeds black, white, and blue. Glenn McGrath, cricketer, my personal favourite cricketer of all time, absolute legend of the game, but also local Sutherland Shire cricketer and now cricket commentator. Samuel Johnson, another actor, probably well known for The Secret Life of Us. Lara Bingle.
You do a good voiceover.
Could do a good voiceover. Lara Bingle. Stuart Clark, another great ex-cricketer, and by all reports is a pretty savvy administrator these days. So wouldn't be bad to have him close to the club in some ways. Not that our current crop are doing poorly. Shannon Knoll, a singer. David Faulkner, another singer, lead singer of the Hoodoo Gurus. Reportedly offered to do a new song for the Sharks, new club song, and was turned down at some point in the past. I don't know if he was looking for compensation for said song or if it was just, hey, how can you do better than Up Cronulla? Dylan Wright, as mentioned by Lats, Australian Idol, now through to the grand final. Get your votes in. Obviously, he man of the moment. And we'll wrap that up with Mike Dorrell, CEO and co-founder of investment firm Stonespeak, has donated some money to the Sharks in the past and might be considered a good option. Who are the ones that we are not considering? Who should not be looking at getting a run? As I mentioned earlier, it's not... Oh, yes, go.
I might sin bin myself because I know Baldo's just chafing at the bit to get back involved in this. It's business.
No,
it's
leave
politics.
him gone. Leave him gone. He can come back later.
No, I'll let him sub in. My vote is Brendan Cowell, but I don't know. I think you need someone bigger, but I want to reward that true passion, that everything that he's about. He can bring a lot of good publicity to the club, but also too, given we're pivoting to America, if there's a lead in there somewhere, there's that guy from Jackass that was repping our gear recently. So
Party boy.
2011.
Party boy Chris Pontius.
Yeah, anyway, I'll sub out. Baldo, you back. Chat soon.
See you, Williams. Who are we not offering? So as I mentioned, it's not a reward or recognition for dedication to the club. So Sharks players, ex-players are out. I would love to see
Franco.
someone like
It should be me.
Should it? It's not.
Why isn't it not me?
It's not an
Every
ex-player.
year, Sharks, I'm waiting to win that damn membership prize in that stand. And every time you give it to someone else, Dane Wheeler, I'm coming for you. I want my damn Armax prize.
Can we get Williams back or what?
Maybe if you handed the membership pack to Chris Kelly each year, you might be considered.
We'll bring him.
We're also not offering it to Phil Gould, long-time Shire resident and media personality. Clearly, he's not in the running. We are not offering it to David Boulderman, our current host and pyramid schemer.
What about his dad? His dad's a celebrity fan on the Wikipedia page.
You noticed? You just noticed that now, Williams. That my dad is
I've known that for years. I just haven't given you the pleasure. I know you put that there yourself.
I didn't actually. We just went up there.
Magic. We're also not giving it. We are also not giving it in the world of politicians. We are not giving it to Harold Holt. We have turned the porch lights off, and he is not coming to any
That would have
games.
been good, though.
That's
That would have been quite a good take. I think Franco, seriously, Chad, on the number one ticket holder, like you got to look what you're going to get out of it. And so I'll just correct you. Peter Costello was never number one. He was number two ticket holder to Kathy Freeman. He never held the number one.
He was absolutely number one, and I will.
Oh, he
revert
wasn't.
back to that
You
one.
look it up. I'll take you. I'll bet you on that, Franco. He was not number one. He was number two.
Let's
I'll
do it.
bet you.
I'm with Franco on this one. I remember there was
He was
a
never number one.
Absolutely
2000
was.
He was.
2005,
we'll see. We'll go
maybe
away
we're
and
going
check that
well.
out.
And
We'll
it
go
was
to the
front
video.
page news of the Daily Telegraph, very
was.
slow news day. It was like, hey, Peter Costello, what's going on about those Sharks? And because he clearly didn't care, but he was still the number one ticket holder, and it was probably Buzz Rothfeld trying to make a story out of nothing. And then Kathy came from the clouds shortly afterwards, and Peter was never seen again.
He absolutely was, but that's okay.
It'll
Bolly,
be
you'll wrong
it'll be
again.
Boldo's new title name will be you can't be number one because he didn't know Peter Costello was a number one ticket holder. So that's how he loses out in this position. Just like he's lost his mic, he's going to lose out in it.
I lost my mic. I couldn't hear and I couldn't reply.
Yeah.
I'm going to prove you guys wrong. We're going to check this out. But back to my point that I was going to make about the number one ticket holder, all jokes aside, is we want to use it for some sort of promotion or something or other, or someone who rightfully deserves the reward. I think putting it on someone for 10 years and then having them sit around and do nothing with it, I think is probably wrong. So I think a 3-year term might be a good idea. And all jokes aside, look, I'm not saying that I should be the number one ticket holder, but some member of the Sharks who's been around for 50 years or something might be a really nice gesture. I saw at the Nottingham Forest Club recently in the Premier League. They had a fan who's been a fan for over 80 years and she's deaf. No, she's blind. That's right. And they took her onto the field and they sung the team song with her before the match, and it was highly emotional. And so I think something like that for the community, I think would be quite a good move for us as the Sharks to put something back into the community or reward someone like our mate Dylan from Australian Idol. I think that would be pretty cool, especially if we were to get him to sing, at an opener or the last match of the season. And then maybe we don't need a politician this time around. But yes, using it for something. I don't think we have to rush out and give it to anyone either, Franco, would be my.
Yeah. So
I
given
think
all
we sit on
that,
it.
yep. Who should it be? I don't think, a bit
No
of
one.
an anticlimax. I don't think it's really needs to be anyone.
No
I'm
one.
leaning towards nobody. We can hold off until someone stands out at the right time and place, or we just screw it and give it to Taylor Swift and see what happens.
That's not a bad idea. Just give it to Taylor Swift. actually, that is quite a good idea. And Zach, no, your comment isn't working, but that one is. All right, so Taylor Swift has been.
There was no
announced
swear
as
in
the Hugh Sharks #1 ticket holder. All right, well, look, we've gone a bit over time today, so thanks for everyone who's watching along on watching live. Anything we missed, fellas, that we want to talk about that we didn't mention during the show? Lats, I can see you're champing at the bit.
No, mate, I was just missed my my input for the ticket holder. I threw up between three. I couldn't split them, and I don't think there should be rules around the #1 ticket holder. And my three that I came out with clear front runners were Stephen Dank, Con Ange, and Clint Elford.
Clint Elford. What about Trent Elkin?
Trent Elkin, Noakesy, someone. No, all jokes aside, I think it should be offered to Mike. Possibly some further investment going forward.
I think Mike wouldn't be that
could
bad
pave
choice.
that nicely. But yeah.
Anyone in your comment section, if you want to nominate someone, please do. All right. Anything else from you, Williams?
Nothing more from me other than a side point on the tough stakes. We did have, I don't know what reminded me, maybe it was our good friend Ryan Gahagan and his lovely comments on awesome obscure Sharks fans or players, but we did have a player that whilst bouncing at the Roxy back in the early 2000s, copped a bullet to the leg and then played first grade after that. That was the great Eddie Sewer. In 2007 he played for us. So that's bravery right there as well. So
pretty good.
Toughness. Yeah.
It's not bad. Chris, anything from you before we round it out?
Yeah, just quick wrap up. I don't know how Williams missed Boldo's favourite toughest player, Adam Dykes, spending 2 hours or an hour
Ice
every
bath.
2 hours getting in his pool, getting ready for the semi-final.
Yeah.
Normally, like on a Saturday, I follow the same horse as Lat, so I reckon I'd take Dylan Wright if he takes out the grand final, man of the moment for Australian Idol. I think that'd be a good promotion for a #1 ticket holder. And thanks to Franco for my 2024 membership pack. Really excited by it. Finally got one.
Finally got one after all these years.
Looks good. And shout out to James from the Sharks for sorting us out when our tickets didn't work. James, you're an absolute legend. So thank you for that. And there was no way that we were ever going to complain about the Sharks getting our tickets wrong, because it's always our fault and pretty much always my fault, to be honest. All right, Franco, anything from you before we do the wrap up on the show?
Yeah, Cade Dykes was named back this week in the Jets, so looking forward to see him have a run around. That's good positive news. Hopefully he has a blinder. And my left of field, toughest, bravest, hardest Sharky was probably Luke Douglas, I think. The consecutive games, always his dedication to recovery. And had he not left us, probably would have held that record for the Sharks forevermore. But he was pretty cool.
Was it Asada that finally got him? Was it?
Yeah,
was it
correct.
Injury or it was
Asada that stopped it.
delayed suspension that finally broke his run. That was crazy from early 2006 right the way through to late 2014 for a prop. Unbelievable.
Yep, just crazy.
There was one where we were sure for all money that he was going to be injured and not play the next week, and then somehow he did.
Well, he had the send-off in 2009 against Manly too, which was an absolute joke of a thing. Where I can't remember who the young referee was, but
Last time I ever
named
attended
himself-
Brookvale was because of that.
Yeah, I think that was the last time that referee refereed in first grade. It was a horrific call, and it looked like he was going to cop a suspension, but no case to answer. Back the next week.
Oh, that's sweet. All right. Well, look, thanks, little Lats, for great work, guys. Yeah, look, we try hard on the ET stand. And thanks to everyone who's been liking, subscribing, commenting on our videos. It is terrific fun when people do that. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do, as it helps us with the algorithm as we work towards getting up to 500 subscribers. If we get to 500 subscribers, we get a few little extra options on YouTube. So that will be a lot of fun. If you have missed it so far, Williams and Lats reviewed a classic 2008 round 25 match against the West Tigers, the night known as the Purple Sneakers, with the CWC at the time. So if you want to get along and watch that one, that was a particularly good video watch. And we will have a debrief on Saturday night following the Sharks versus the Tigers match. Hopefully we'll be singing the song again. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming along and watching the ET Stand. We have a terrific time bringing you this show, and we will see you guys next time.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.